and welcome back to The Bright Side with me, Sophia. I hope you've been keeping well since last week's episode and that you enjoyed it. For anybody that doesn't know, this week would have actually been the RHS Chelsea Show. It's an annual flower show that happens every year in May, but this year, just like many other things, it has been postponed until September. What's really exciting though is that today's Bright Friday guest actually has her very own stand at this year's Chelsea show in September. Lizzie Fox is a senior brand manager based down in Norfolk, and she runs the Rose Press Garden Instagram page, blog, website and business. Lizzie works towards making gardening inclusive and accessible to all, specifically promoting it as a hobby for the younger demographic. Now, I for one, being in my early 20s, have never actually seen advertising for gardening products, anything like that that's sort of specifically targeted towards my age group. So it's really nice to see that Lizzie is trying to change that. Before I get into the story, I just want to say again that these videos are here to brighten your day and shine a light on some positive stories. I still encourage us all to stay updated with the national news and be sensitive to the situation that, people are still finding themselves in. And now let's hear from Lizzie about how her passion for gardening became an inclusive business.
So I started gardening when I was really young. My mum was really into gardening. Kind of then went off to uni and wasn't too interested in it. I was too busy shopping and going out in the evenings. So it wasn't really until I bought my first home a couple of years ago now that I got really into gardening. And I bought a new build, which many people who have their first home do. And it was literally a pile of mud and rubble. So it was a real challenge to turn it from something that looked pretty dire when I moved in into a garden. And really then I started to share lots of tips on my Instagram page, and then it grew and grew. And actually there's an amazing community on Instagram, and I've just loved sharing what I've been up to, and people have found it really useful. Now I spend my weekends out in the garden, and started this business which is encouraging more younger people to get into gardening as well.
You're trying to make it more accessible, especially to younger people. What are you putting in place for that?
I ordered some flower seeds when I was in lockdown, and it arrived in the most ugly white package, and it was all bashed up, and it had the most boring invoice in it. And then there was an advert for a leather reclining chair, some tartan elasticated waistband trousers, and a holiday brochure. And I was like, come on, this is not appealing to me. Whoever's done this is so wrong. And there's a huge perception that gardening is for the older generations, and that just so doesn't have to be the case. And it felt like there was no one who was representing young beginner gardeners. So I knew that I wanted to create a brand that was young and funky, and so all of my products come beautifully wrapped in tissue paper, in letterbox friendly boxes, so you don't have to be in to sign for anything. It just goes straight through your letterbox. It's got lovely motivational quotes and designs on it, just so that when you open your package, like you would if you were to order some beauty products, they would come beautifully wrapped. I just feel like, why shouldn't gardening be the same? It's been received really well, and people are really loving it, which is really great. So I started my business in September last year. I didn't really start selling products until then, and I launched with a flower seed advent calendar. That was really popular, and it wasn't until I kind of realized actually there's a real market. So I then built my own website from scratch. So I totally taught myself how to do that. Then I started to sell more kind of gifting flower products, just really easy ways with easy instructions to go from there. But the thing that's been the most popular, and something I'm really proud of, is my monthly flower seed subscription. Each month you get flower seeds to sow that month. It comes in the box and you're like, okay, I need to plant these now. And it means you don't miss out on stuff later on in the season. It just makes it super easy for people.
Wow, so for somebody that was never really into gardening, Lizzie has done extremely well for herself to build a brand and turn her passion into a business that is trying to mobilize gardening and make it accessible to more people. Accessible and appealing. Like I said before, and as you can see from the title of the video, Lizzie and her Rose Press Garden will have a stand at this year's Chelsea show in September, which she's very excited about. Here's what she's got planned for September this year.
I nearly fell off my chair when I got the phone call, and then I sobbed for about half an hour before I could even phone. I was like, I needed to phone up all my friends and family and tell them. It sounds silly, but it's such a big, prestigious event that's there every year. I love it. It's like the best day ever. It's better than my birthday, better than Christmas, better than Easter, all put together. I love it. It's like the biggest day out and the most inspiration, and you're just surrounded by all these gorgeous gardens. So I applied thinking, there's no way in a million years I'm gonna get a stand here, because people apply for sort of 3 or 4 years before they before they get accepted. I applied and thought, oh well, I've got nothing to lose, and I got the phone call just saying, you know, we love what you're doing, we love that it's, you know, aimed at younger gardeners. That's what us at the RHS want to do, and get more younger people along to the shows. And it just felt like the perfect synergy. And actually, in a weird way, September has really helped with me, because it'll be time where I can sell my flower seed advent calendars. I'll also have some new bulb products. So at the moment I'm just selling flower seeds, but I will be selling things like tulips and daffodil bulbs and things like that, which is really exciting. So I can launch them with a big bang that time of year. I've got a giant neon sign, and I've got loads of really fun plans to make it really funky and really modern, and just everything that my brand stands for, almost like a nightclub for gardening. I just want it to be really clean, really modern and really fun, which I'm sure it will be.
There we go. There are very exciting things ahead for Lizzie and her rose press garden later this year. If you are going to the Chelsea show in September, then do make sure to keep a lookout for that stand. Now, just before we wrap up, I thought it would be nice for Lizzie to show us a tutorial of her using some of her own products. She makes a bunch of how-to videos to help gardeners who are just starting off and just learning. Very useful for somebody like me who knows nothing about gardening. So here is Lizzie showing us how to make a garden border, which is apparently just like baking a cake.
Hi, I'm Lizzie, and I want to share with you my top tips on how creating a border is exactly like baking a cake. So first of all, you start with the cake mixture, which is your trees and your shrubs. Now these will have structure for all year round, so a bit like the main sponge of your cake. Then you go on to the filling of your cake, which is your perennials, which are gorgeous flowers that come back year after year. And then your topping is your annuals. So these are seeds that you sow at the beginning of the season, usually in spring, and they will flower during the summer, and then they will die back. You might be able to save the seed, or they might self-seed, but you need to re-sow them every year. They're usually often flowers that are lovely bright colours and add that pop and injection of colour that you want, so a bit like the icing on a cake. And then lastly, you have your candles, and that's what I would say is potentially the bit that's missed in most gardens, which is the lighting. So make sure that you have lovely lighting and areas to light candles, and maybe some festoon lights in your garden, because it will just add that extra glow and warmth when you're outside in your garden at dusk. So very simplified, but I hope that helps when you're thinking about creating your borders, making sure that you've got that structure of trees and shrubs, your perennials that come back every single year, your annuals which fill that space and add that injection of colour, and then your candles or your light which will add extra glow and magic to your garden as well. I hope that's helpful. Thanks for watching.
And now you know how to make your own garden border. It's as simple as that. Or at least Lizzie makes it look very effortless. And that's all for today's Bright Friday story. Thank you so much to Lizzie for contributing. Best of luck later this year at the Chelsea Flower Show. I'm sure we'll all be seeing some wonderful posts on your Rose Press Garden Instagram. I will leave that down below if you want to take a closer look at what we've seen in this video so far. And thank you to all of you for watching another Bright Friday story. As always, if you have a story of your own, or maybe you know somebody that does, then please get in touch with me. I'd love to hear it. You can email me at thebrightsideuk21@gmail.com, or you can message me on any of my socials, which I will leave in the caption. Check back in next week to find out what the next Bright Friday story is, but until then, stay safe and have a bright day. Bye!